Hello and welcome back to another Lunch and Comics here in early March, joined by the Captain, and we're going to talk a little bit about comic book history as we set off this show. In particular, an article from the Overstreet Price Guide from 1982-1983 featuring the Pophollinger story, and he's considered the first to open up a comic book store, transitioned from a small grocery store, first that we know in America, that opened from 1939 to 1971. And Pophollinger had a passion for comics, and including buying and selling silver and golden age books, and even restoring them, or what he called rebuilding them, with staples and brown tape, a masking tape on the side of the book. So the story that the Captain enlightened me with as he found a copy and blew it up to a nice big print from the Overstreet Price Guide tells about his history and how he bought and sold books that we know today. That issue happened to be the Overstreet Price Guide issue number 12 back in the early 80s that features a few pages with Pophollinger. Yeah, how did you come up with the story, Captain? Is it something that you knew about or were studying or happened to read?
I found out about it, in 1982 or 83 when the price guide came out. That's when I first found out about it. I didn't know. You opened up the first store, I think, in 1940.
Oh, 1940, okay.
I think so, yeah. And then, I think he was largely responsible for creating a market for collectors.
Pophollinger had thousands of comic books and considered the grandfather, or maybe the godfather of the comic book store, to go through a lot of trials and tribulations, including a flood that nearly wiped out his comic book inventory. He had a lot of Silver Age and Golden Age books.
1951, on that Republican River where he lived, the Republican River.
Republican? Okay.
Why couldn't it be
We're not really a political show, but it's...
It flooded, It rained all spring and it flooded his basement.
And then near Concordia, Kansas, where he had his store.
Then he had to take several truckload of ruined comics to his son's farm and put them in a landfill. Tons of Golden Age comic books into a landfill.
Where's the shovel, Captain? We better start looking. The treasure lies in Kansas.
They didn't have bags and boards back then, So.
Right. So we just wanted to shed some light on Harvey or Pophollinger because of what he did as his passion for the comic book culture and preserving the comics that still exist today. You can find some of Pophollinger's books on eBay. There are a couple right now where you see his signature taping, masking tape on the border, and 3 staples and cardboard on the back, because he looked to restore comic books, and that's a term that he used as restoring the great books from the past. You bring up a good point about bags and boards, Captain, and who was that had one of the first, sold the first bags and boards?
That was Robert Bell, right?
Yeah, Robert Bell, and some early advertisements were in the Overstreet Price Guide, the same guide where we learned about Pophollinger in the issue from 82-83, Overstreet number 12. And actually, Robert Bell, we had advertisement in Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 71. There's an advertisement in that book, which is interesting.
What year was that from? 70,
Yeah, I think it was April 1969. It was ASM or Amazing Spider-Man number 71. So history from comic book stores to bags and board. We all had our fair share of taking time to bag and board our books. So that's interesting. Do you remember buying a Robert Bell bags and board?
We left some ads that he placed in magazines in the early 1940s. Can you see it?
Yeah, I think it's clear there, yeah. You hold it up. Mm-hmm. Half price. Paid by the week. Mailed it. So he actually mailed it throughout the country, too, some of the books.
Yeah.
With a comic book club. Almost like the Mile High comic book club in Colorado.
He also had a comic book reading service where he would have send people to read comic books to patients in a nursing home.
Oh, okay.
Did that too.
Yeah, I remember one of our earlier luncheon comics, he had a date stamp on one of them that it was from a hospital. It was a hospital office. It was, yeah. That's in our earlier episode, so be sure to check our older issue. Yeah, I'm going to just bring a little close-up of Pop Hollinger right there as we celebrate his achievements in comic book history. Just angling the camera here so we could see each other better. Another interesting part of history, well, it has to do with the Watchers. And Charlton Comics actually had a prototype character that matches the character well. And you can see him right here. And this is from May of 1960, and Mysteries of Unexplored World. And I love the title and how it kind of jumps out to you in that art style. And we have here a character that's very much like the Watchers in Marvel, down to how he's observing the human race and what they're doing. And later we see the origin story in Tales of Suspense in 1964 coming out, in this issue featuring the second appearance of the Black Widow, which we know of. But it actually has an origin story of the Watchers. So from Charlton to Marvel, that's an interesting transition right there. So you kind of wondered with the artists like Vince Alacia and Dick Giordano if they had a hand in creating, just driving the inspiration for what Marvel did later with the Watchers. So opening up the book real quick, we'll get to the back of that. This issue came out in 1964, and right in the back cover we have the Watchers right there with the cosmos.
Tales of the Watcher. Yeah, this is definitely the prototype.
Yeah, so the prototype, I mean,
to me, it's the first appearance of the Watcher. I mean, look at that, that's the Watcher. Right there, that's the
even
Watcher.
The cloak is right there. So from issue number 18 of Mysteries of Unexplored World to Marvel Comics, there we have, isn't that an uncanny resemblance?
Yeah, sure is.
From one company to the other, so even that kind of looks like the Watcher. It looks like a big ballpoint pen character, but and then of course the back cover we can't.
That's a nice copy.
Yeah, this is
like
one of my better ones. It's not a low grade for a change, but
hey.
We always say low grade is better than no grade. But I just wanted to show you, since the theme of this episode is some history, the Watchers. What do you know about that? Oh, what do you have, Captain?
No, I got nothing.
Nothing to show.
No, I got nothing.
Oh, that's a nice cover. Ooh, look at that hatchet right there.
This reprint, I got this from, these are getting expensive too. This is gifted by Leo. Interesting thing, the cover, this is reprints the cover of Vault of Horror number 32.
Oh, wow.
And the cover is by Johnny Craig. Except the interior over here in the credits, they credit Jeff Davis, which is somebody made a mistake. Somebody made a boo-boo, Lucy.
Oh yeah, Johnny Craig. He also did Iron Man, some of the earlier ones too. He worked for Marvel, and this was with EC Comics.
So the interior credits are Jack Davis on the cover when it's actually Johnny Craig.
Ah, okay. How could they make that blunder?
I don't know. Everybody making a blunder, but that's a bigger blunder.
You gotta leave it to the captain to find out those details. And maybe it's how they reprinted it. They added some different credits to it as well. But that is a pretty gruesome book, but a great cover. Look at that.
Yeah. I think the original cover to this, they printed some that had limited printing of actual red blood. There were just a few copies, if I am not mistaken, and I don't know how many copies they printed, but then they stopped and they changed, they did another production line of the same book with black ink instead of blood red color.
Well, I guess they didn't want to, parents would be upset about it, and that probably came after that whole period.
I'm not sure how many comics that they printed with the red blood on it. I'm just not sure about it.
And that's an interesting story because the person that is murdered reappears as a ghost and drives the murderer crazy to the point where we won't spoil it for you. I want to show another quick book that's really cool. The captain gifted to me today is King Kong like Superman. So that's really cool on top of the Empire State Building. King Kong on the ribbon on the bottom. Very cool. I love the letters. And this is what it's about. These nice nostalgic Silver Age book. So that's a beauty right there.
Let's look at the back of that cover though.
The back cover, it brings a lot of attention. I'll let you hold it, Captain. And of course we have the monsters looking at us, from sea creatures to all those characters, from lizards to mummies to Frankenstein to...
Well, that's poster worthy.
It is. It almost looks like a movie poster with the bottom right there. So that's really cool. I mean, the back covers are kind of becoming more exciting than some of the front covers, so just wanted to show that. Another interesting book that I found has to do with the X-Men, and this is for Heroes for Hope, and this came out in the mid-'80s, and it was to draw awareness for hunger in Africa. And it's a very fascinating book because there are a number of guest writers and artists that participated in creating this book, and it's still very easy to find. And I'll take it out of the bag to show you all the different artists that had a hand in making this issue. As the captain is opening it up, we could see all the artists and writers inside. And look at that long list of heavy hitters and VIPs, including Mike Kaluta, a New York artist. They had that illustrative style. Also John Byrne, John Buscema, John Romita Jr., Stan Lee also with the writing, Alan Moore. So the list goes on. And the art changes every couple of pages, which is pretty neat. I also saw this comic book featured on Lunch Money Comics, another channel on YouTube. Lunch Money Comics is about traveling on the East Coast and finding some great finds, and that's how I was turned on to this book here, as it was a recent episode. So this was volume number 1 from 1985. But does it have a wraparound cover, Captain?
No, it doesn't. I thought it did, but it's got a nice back cover.
It's got a back cover. Okay, yeah, X-Men involved, and a lot of other characters. Colossus there. So a neat find and a part of history. Another neat cover that the captain found was Dell Comics. We always love Dell. And this is an underwater city with a painted cover based off of a movie adaptation. This happens to be from the year 1961. But I'm curious to get my hands on it and open it up and see the artwork. If you know anything about Underwater City and this particular book, let me know in the comments below. Another comic that I found looking in the wild is a pre-300 book with Action Comics. This is issue number 271. Features a visitor from outer space, and I like how it says the voyage from Dimension X right on the top. Love the buildings in the back cover, and Superman is going to help to save the day. So we'll find out what he does next. So this is from December of 1960, making it a lovely Silver Age book. And another comic from Action Comics is issue 292, so another one before the 300 run. with aliens. So it's always fun, the 1960s and aliens. This is from September of 1962, where he's before a jury, and there's Lex Luthor. So something good can't be happening if Lex Luthor is involved. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Lunch and Comics. We talked about Pop Hollinger and his comic book store, Robert Bell, the history of the Watchers, and even looking at reprints and how they're becoming more expensive, and but still trying to give us copies of books that are very hard to get. So we're happy to have some form of reprint.
Of course.
So it's otherwise they go for a lot of money in this crazy comic market that we have today. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Wish you all a very good month, and until next time.